week. What are you thanking God for? What are you happy about? I know there's so much we're waiting on God for. Kuna mambo mob to momba, and we are waiting, for answers and blessings and all that. But we'd want to start by, what are you thanking God for? All right. So please share with us, and we'll be happy to read and thank the Lord together with you. So karibu sana, this is MBCI TV, ambapo tunabadilisha maisha by the grace of God. And of course, the show on air is the one and only Afya Clinic, where we talk about everything health. So karibu sana, we're very happy to be here. And of course, today, let me start with huge thanks to each and everyone who's made this show be here on air. First and foremost, our MBCI TV, MBCI Fraternity, blessings. The whole team, mbarikiwe sana. And of course, you, thank you so much for being here. Asante sana. We always say that you are our guest of honor, and you don't take it for granted for the fact that you're here. We do value your time greatly. So karibu sana, and today we're going to have an amazing time. My name is Rachel Kahugo. We'll be here up to 10 in the AM. And today we are having an amazing topic, a very intriguing topic, kwa sababu this is a topic that touches most of us. And every time on Afya Clinic, we talk about issues that affect our health, affect our lives, because your health affects your life directly. So right here in Afya Clinic, we talk about life in general. So we talk about our health, and today we'll be talking about autism. I know that we talked about autism a few months ago, but we're looking at it with a different angle, and how autism affects the community at large, how it affects you and I, and what exactly are we supposed to do about it, how are we supposed to live with people who are autistic. So hizo ndo vitu ambazo tutakuwa tukiangalia leo. But before we go there, is that karibu sana. We're very glad to have you here. Our numbers are very open. That is 0721-105-105 on WhatsApp, 23814, our SMS code, which is absolutely free of charge. We're live on Facebook on MBCI TV Facebook page. We're live on YouTube on MBCI TV official YouTube page, and of course we are ready to hear from you. So send in your messages, send in your text, send in your greetings, salimia, tuma salamu hapa na pale. Hopefully you'll be able to read all that. But number one is that we'd want to know what you are thanking God for. So we'll be coming back to read your messages. Now, today we'll be having two guests on set, and we'll be starting off with Judy. Judy is, she has so many hats, and we'll be getting to know more about her. But for you to just understand even better who she is that we'll be getting a guest profile. But before we do that, I just want to remind you, today we are talking about autism. So karibu sana, and feel at ease, feel at home. Send in your messages if you have someone who's autistic, if you have maybe a child, a spouse, or a neighbor, a friend, a sibling. This is where you get more understanding. So if you have any question, any comment, please feel free to share, because this is where we get to understand, and we say this is a family. So we get to learn from your experience, and we get to learn from our professionals as well. So karibu, we're going to be having an amazing time. For now, let's get the guest profile so that you'll know who we are having as our first guests on set. Good morning and welcome to Afya Clinic. Today we are blessed to have a guest whose heart beats for advocacy, ministry and family. She is a devoted Christian, a loving wife and mother, and a powerful voice for individuals with autism. With a rich background in IT, banking, counseling and pastoral ministry, she wears many hats with grace and purpose. She is the founder of Comfort Christian Daycare Center, an inclusive space where children with diverse needs are nurtured and celebrated. Beyond that, she leads caregiver workshops, champions autism awareness, and serves as a volunteer pastor heading the special needs ministry at Trinity Chapel, Nakuru. Let's give a warm welcome to the incredible Judy, a true change maker and a beacon of hope in our community. Perfect. So that is Judy. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much,
We're
Rachel.
so glad to have you.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Asante sana.
Asante.
And you wear so many hats.
We thank God.
That's a whole other topic we need to unpack.
Oh yeah, another day.
Another day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get another day just to talk about all that and how you're able to balance all that, because that's really beautiful.
We thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
So today we'll be talking about autism.
Yes.
And we'll be getting the in history segment where we'll just get to understand in depth what autism is. But maybe before we get there, for people to hear from you, na wasikie sauti ya mwenye tutakuwa na yeye on set today.
Yes.
Please introduce yourself, say hi to the audience, and then you can get started.
Hello and good morning to the audience of Afya Clinic. My name is Judy Kagore Ligaga. As you've heard, I wear many hats. I'm a mother, I'm a pastor, I'm a wife, I'm a caregiver to an autistic child. I'm a carrier of many hats, and I'm here to serve God and to continue to encourage us, because as we walk in this life on earth, the Bible says we should occupy until he comes. So we keep occupying the spaces he has given us. So I'm glad to be here this morning. Hope we take this journey together and we get blessed.
Amazing. We can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you.
I'm sure that today's show, let me just tell you, today's show is so power-packed. So just make sure you don't watch this alone. Call in other people so that you'll be able to, get blessed, to kiwa sote, and that you'll be able to learn. Now, as we said before, is that today we're talking about autism. And you have a segment called In History segment, where you just get to understand in depth what autism is, even before we get into the topic of discussion or the depth of the discussion. So for now, let's get the In History segments.
Autism can be traced back in the early 20th century, though the understanding of the condition has evolved significantly over time. The term autism was first coined by Swiss psychiatrist Eugen Beller in 1911, initially used to describe symptoms of schizophrenia characterized by social withdrawal and a focus of inner thoughts. However, it wasn't until 1943 that the modern understanding of autism began to take shape, when American psychiatrist Leo Kanner published a recognition on his seminal paper on early infantile autism. Kanner described a group of children with distinct social difficulties, repetitive behaviors, and communication challenges, marking the first of autism as a unique development disorder. In the 1960s and 1970s, autism was widely regarded as a rare condition, with many psychologists attributing its causes to poor parenting, particularly the notion of refrigerator mothers, a term popularized by psychiatrist Bruno Bettelheim. This idea was eventually debunked, but it held sway for several decades, further stigmatizing families of children with autism. During the 1980s, research began to focus more on neurological and genetic aspects of autism, and the first edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders (DSM) included autism as a distinctive disorder, officially recognizing it within the broader category of childhood psychosis. By the early 20th and early 21st centuries, scientific understanding of autism expanded significantly, with advances in neurobiology, genetics, and diagnostic practices. The rise of advocacy groups and increased public awareness helped shift the conversation away from misconception about autism causes towards recognizing it as a spectrum disorder with varying degrees of severity and manifestation. Today, autism is understood to have complex genetics and environmental factors, with ongoing research into early intervention methods, the neurodiversity movement, and the promotion of acceptance and inclusion for individuals on the autism spectrum.
Perfect. So that is what we get from the In History segment, and that helps you understand in depth, but in a language that you'd be able to understand as well, what autism is and what's the history behind autism. But just to allow people to understand vizuri, in layman's language, what would you say autism is?
In layman's language, just for everyone to understand, we would say autism is a brain-related disorder. And to just speak it in simple English, autism is the way a brain of a child or a person responds to the environment, to the surrounding. So it's the way the neurons respond to various things. So when we call it a disorder, it means the brain is responding in a way that is not common for everyone else. So basically, it's just to say, you and I, we call ourselves, we are neurotypical. Neurotypical means majority of the population has a way that we think. For example, when you see bright lights, you and I may not have a challenge with that. Maybe we'll just squint a bit and then go ahead. But somebody with the disorder of autism, that bright light could be the cause of a bad day. They will not be able to function at all because their brain will respond either in a painful way, in such a disturbing way. Same thing to things like sound. You and I can sit and enjoy music, loud music in church. But some of the people on the spectrum, that could be also a major pain in their hearing, in the way they respond. So we can say typically it's the way the brain responds to what surrounds us. And because of that response, it means then if somebody has ASD, they will respond differently to communication. They will respond differently to social interaction. They will respond differently to the environment.
Okay, I hear you. Now, I know we'll be talking more about that with Elizabeth. Who'll be joining us later. But in your introduction, you said that you're also a caregiver to a child who's autistic. Take us through that.
I'm a caregiver to a little beautiful girl, my princess. She's called Lily Faraja Ligaga. She'll be turning 9 in August. And she's the one that has made me be in this space to be an advocate and to be a carrier of hope for many caregivers. Lily Faraja was given to us by God in the year 2016, 5th of August. And like any other child, she was born normal. And she grew up normal for the first 2.5 years of her life. Her milestones were on point and she continued with her journey. But when she was around 2 years, 6 months, we began to notice something over her left side of the eye, and the eye began to twitch. And the twitching was not such a big deal because it looked like she's winking too fast. And then we didn't think it's a big deal. So even my firstborn daughter would make a joke and say, hey, mom, Liliana wink haraka haraka. And then shortly after that, the wink went to the twitching of the cheek on the same side. So we actually had no idea that it's something serious. But one day we were just visiting a doctor friend and we are not unwell. It's the dad who had gone to be checked. And the twitch happened while we were in the doctor's office. So at that moment, we took advantage because he was a family friend. We asked him, oh, there's this thing that keeps happening to this girl. What do you think? And the doctor looked at us and said, how long has this happened? And of course, we casually said, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we don't know. Then he's like, and she's not been checked. We said, no. Then immediately he said, don't leave, let me just call another friend. So in that office, he called a pediatrician. And then he told the pediatrician, I think you need to listen to this and then you see what's happened. So once the pediatrician saw us, he gave us an appointment for the following day. We went to see him. And should I say, life just took a different turn. So the pediatrician asked us to go do what we call an EEG. An EEG is a brain reading, which most of us know of the ECG, which happens to the heart. An EEG is done on the brain, which is a way to check the brain activities. So we were sent and we went and we checked the brain activities. And when we checked the brain activity, the result came out and they said, there seems to be abnormal brain activity. So then I asked them, what does that mean? And then they explained and they said, okay, it's what we call, she's having absentia seizures. So when they mentioned seizures, I had only heard of epileptic seizures. So I asked the doctor, does it mean she's epileptic? The doctor said, not really. It's just another condition, another group of seizure disorder, not necessarily epilepsy, but we will put her on the anticonvulsant medication, which is same as medication used by epileptic people, because seizures come in different, should I say, different ways and different forms. That's a whole different story. So we began on that, and as we continued with the journey, the seizures continued to progress, and after some time he felt we need to do a CT scan, and then we went for an MRI, and the whole thing went from good to good and to better, because I don't want to say to worse. We ended up having a discovery that there was a lesion in her brain, a lesion more so like a tumor, but a softer version of it. That was in the year 2019. I'm a woman of faith, so when they told me that, I said, we're gonna pray. This thing is gonna go. So, you know, so they began to say, oh, we need to have the tumor removed surgically and all that. And at that point, I was not ready for it. So I took the journey of faith, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. As we are continuing with the Shiza medication, by the time we came to the November of 2019, it looked like now we need to have actually another MRI, and they check how far the tumor is. And when they checked, they still insisted, Mama Lily, we really need to try and see if we can salvage this situation by removing this lesion. At that point, I remember I went to God and I said, so what does this mean? And then I remember before then I had gone to a certain meeting and I'd carried all her MRIs, and I was like, God, there is a possibility that she can vomit this thing, you know. And I lifted faith. And then in prayer, God just gave me a big challenge. He said, Judy, does it mean if I'm gonna change this situation by surgery that I'm not God? The same faith you have lifted, why can't you lift it to that we can have a successful brain surgery? And of course, at that point, I'm like, okay, yeah, you are God. And he gave me Adonai, his Lord. And so then I told him, okay, they need 2 million for this surgery, which I do not have. So if it's you taking us through this journey, if you provide the 2 million, then we will have it done. And God, by his own way, opened doors, and there was a way for us to be admitted, and everything else now had to happen. So when there was a way that the surgery would happen, then I knew where God is with me in this thing. So the other thing I asked him, I said, when they are doing, I would want to go in that theater and just pray, because I believe in miracles. And because my daughter was 3 then, almost turning, she was actually 3 by then. So when we went for admission, I remember that morning they said, oh, Mama, because this girl is too young, we can't just wheel her to the theater by herself. We need one of you parents to go with her. And I was like, yes. So it was yes, because I felt I needed to enter there and just pray and commit it to go. So we went on, prayed, then the doctors sat in there for about a 8-hour surgery, and she came out good. Praise God. She didn't even stay in ICU for more than 1 night. She healed very fast. It was COVID time now. By that time, we were in 2020. So we come home after 4 or 5 days, and she's there running around and doing everything. And we continued. Now, 1 month, she's good. 2nd month, 3rd month. When we got to the 4th month of healing, is when we discovered it's like we are noticing she's not sleeping well. And so I discovered that I'm beginning to spend a whole day and a whole night without sleeping, because the baby is not falling asleep. So, and then from there now she began to be very irritable, like any small thing she would just lose it. And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, maybe it's the wound, the surgery, the head and everything. So month 4, month 5, when we went for review on month 6, I gave the doctor my concerns, and the doctor, and then I also told the doctor, I've noticed that she's beginning to bang her head on the sofa a lot, on the pillow. And so we are, as a mother, I am not even thinking ASD. I'm not even there. I'm thinking this brain surgery thing could be healing in a certain way. So the doctor asked me, oh, so how is, began to ask me, so how is her speech? I told her, by the way, doctor, I'm realizing her music is gone, because she really loves singing. I told her, I think I've not had her sing in a while. And then the doctor began to go like explain about autism and everything. And so for me, it was a shocker, because how did we move from the tumor to the surgery to ASD? And of course, the first thing and every reaction, which I do not blame any mother, any caregiver, of course you're in denial, like, no, you forget it. Let's continue and see this thing will go wear off, because once she heals, I believe it's the scar in the brain. And so we didn't actually receive that at the first diagnosis. So we came back home. We are still on our anti-seizure medication, but now the behaviors accelerated. And so now we were like, it was impossible to have her stop crying. She would cry for hours. And it became very, very tough for me. I was very fatigued. And then she refused everyone. The dad wouldn't hold her. The sister wouldn't hold her. So she had to be on mommy's back almost 24/7. So again, when we went for review now, 3 months later, 9th month after surgery, the doctor repeated the same thing.
About autism.
About autism. Then I was like, okay, fine. So what is this autism? Now, previously, I had dealt with autistic children. And the thing that had made me be in denial concerning my daughter, because I've been in the education sector for some time, I'd administered 2 schools before, and I had seen autistic children, but none of them was like what my daughter was behaving.
Okay.
That is why I was in denial, because I was like, no, this is not autism, because autism is what I had seen in that other child and that other child.
What had you seen?
Now, in those other children, I would see a lot of aggressive behavior. Then I would see, how do I say, they maybe they are clingy to certain things. They are nonverbal, they have no words at all. Then they would bite. So I'm not seeing that in my daughter. So I am not understanding how the banging of the head and the crying and everything is autism. Now, until now, I got to begin to read through, and then the doctor took us through the fact that autism is a spectrum. The same way your thumbprint and my thumbprint are not the same. That is it with autistic children or autistic persons. There is no one autistic person is the same with another. Yeah, if you have 4, and Elizabeth will explain to us, if you have 4 autistic people here today, none of them is the same, but they are on the spectrum. So that is why even when we go to interventions, which Elizabeth will tell us, there is no one fit for all. No, one may fit here and the other one may not fit. So now at that point, 9th month post-surgery, I began to digest it. And so we asked, so what next? And now the doctor said, you need to have therapy, you need to support her. And now a journey of learning began, and now a difficult journey began, because from there, at that time now, we understand what she is. So our lives, could say, took a drastic turn, because now social gatherings became an issue. Going to people's houses, having people also come over, and our life just took another twist.
Oh my goodness. That's so wholesome. That's quite a lot. And I'm just getting to understand how being a caretaker of someone who's a child or someone who's autistic really would change how you even relate with people. Maybe this is where we talk about, because you've told us about how you received the news and how it took quite a long time for you to actually accept it and start going through the therapy, which you talk about. What was the response from your friends, the people who surrounded you previously? Because before you actually knew or got to understand that the baby is autistic, you had people around, you had friends, your family. What was the response?
Maybe let me say immediate. Okay, maybe the most immediate people to give the news were our immediate family members. And of course, all of them were like, okay, what is that? Because that's the, you begin to say, oh, now we have understood why Lily is not sleeping. We've understood why she's crying a lot. We've understood why she's doing like this. And then at that time, by the time she's there, also eating had become a challenge. So she was leaning only on one type of food. And now we began to tell them, oh, we're understanding why that now she only eats Weetabix and nothing else. Of course, most of our family members, some of them that are in the medical setup, quickly understood, but they were shocked because all the time we actually see other people. You have never thought, what about it's me? So they were shocked, but we received quite support from within family. Most of our friends, I don't think we were able to communicate in terms of this is what we are going through. We just, maybe they discovered we are a bit, see, twende lunch, see, we do this, so we are a bit reluctant on going. And maybe when they say, oh, see, you bring your children, me and my husband, we look at each other and we're like, where are we going with this one? So it took time before we could, actually we didn't go into explaining to friends first. I think the challenge we got was like, we ended up being alone because we did not know how to really explain the whole thing. So, but it took us some time. Then after some time, those that were willing to like ask, then we would explain. And then it took us some time, and then she began to improve. Then our circle of friends kind of ended up being very small. And then it ended up that most of the social events that people would invite us to, we would not show up. And that made many relationships like break off because we would not show up. And then also we would not tell them why we didn't show up. So maybe people ended up going like, hey, these ones nowadays, they don't show up for people's things. These ones nowadays, they feel like they got it all together. They don't show up for people's birthdays, people's weddings, functions. So we ended up only showing up for immediate family functions because anything else would take a toll on us because it would end up being very chaotic. And then she would get so overloaded with the environment. And so it would mean either we'll have to leave early or the place would just turn upside down. So it took us time. But now where we stand, all our friends understand and they are behind us. And they, actually, most of them have also become advocates in their own way because they will hear somebody and they'll say, hey, Ebu, let me give you my friend's number. Ebu, call her. Ebu, ask her what to do. So right now where we stand, it's 5 years later. So we have now, our circle of friends have completely, most of them have even completely understood why we missed that wedding, why we missed that graduation, why we missed it. But now because of everything that has happened with therapy, Elizabeth will share with us, my girl is able to relate with any social setting, but it's 5 years later.
And you know, you've explained it very well, and I've asked that because it's also very important for us to understand how the community receives the news of, oh, someone is autistic, because the first response is usually like, mpeleke kwa mzazi wake. This one we can't handle. Because at the end we'll be talking about how would the community embrace autistic people better because they are part of us. And maybe we'll be talking about what can't they do, what's their place in the community. But let's talk about Faraja. Because now we know about Faraja Initiative and we've talked about it as this is where kids get to feel more included in their everyday life. But we've gotten to know that that's your daughter's name. So tell us about it.
About my daughter or about Faraja?
Faraja,
the daughter, Faraja, the initiative.
It's one.
Faraja is actually, when the name Faraja is comfort in English, is comfort, and Swahili is Faraja. So it's more of a space of comfort. Now, interesting how God works. When Faraja got this name, my daughter, it was comfort from a whole different perspective. Because she's my rainbow baby. I had lost a baby before she came in. So when she came in, we named her Faraja. And we never knew why she's Faraja until now, because she carries a lot of comfort for everyone. So Faraja herself, because of the journey we have walked with her, I think because of the way, as a family, we also felt alone. And then because we felt like people don't understand us, and we are very simple. Like us now, I include myself in the ASD people. People don't understand us, yet we are very simple. It's only that we just see things differently. So it gave me that, because as my little girl has moved from different social settings in terms of schooling, and most of the time we find that she'll struggle because she may not be able to fit in and everything. So we are like, we need people to understand how to handle us and create comfort for everyone. Hence Comfort Christian Daycare Center. We want you to be comfortable as a caregiver. Like society should be fine with you as you are as a mom. We want you to be comfortable as a child or an adult with ASD. Society should accept you just as you are. If you're a family support system, if it is family that is not understanding, we want everyone to be comfortable with the matter of ASD. So as we talk of Faraja, we are talking of comfort from all sides. Now, as the people living with ASD, the caregivers and ASD people themselves are comfortable, we also want to let the society know you can be comfortable with us. Like we are okay, like we are good. Like
we are normal.
We are normal. We're not losing it. We got everything together. So society, si mtupatie tu hiyo comfort hata nyinyi. Tukue tu kila mtu akue na Faraja, kila mtu akue na hiyo comfort. So as we move on, so the initiative came up to handle all areas in terms all areas, meaning we are taking care of the people themselves that have ASD, in terms of support, in terms of like guiding them where to get what in our society, in our government, in the institutions that are offering 1, 2, 3 things. Now we're also offering direction and care and social support system, psychosocial support system for the caregivers, because the workload is a lot for the caregivers. So we are creating a space and settings that they can come and release their pressure. We can get together once in a while, have fun, enjoy ourselves, and be okay to talk about the crazy things our kids are doing. Then we also providing support in terms of education, in terms of guiding. Where do you get assessed? How do you get to access this assessment? How do you get your child placed in a proper place? We can also guide, because we have links with doctors, we have links with therapists. We're like, okay, have you tried this one? Have you tried this one? So we are a resource space to make everyone comfortable. Then we also go ahead now and educate. In Faraja Initiative, we carry out awareness initiative where like we go to churches. Now we train the church workers, we train the Sunday school teachers, we talk to the clergy to let them know these people are within you, so how do you handle them? We go to schools and we ask the principals and the school heads, get your teachers together for us, let's come and train them to be able now to handle the learners. So we are trying to train everyone around us as long as a door is opened to now live with us.
I see. Now that you've been in that space for 9 years now?
Diagnosis, she's 9 years. Diagnosis was, about 6 years, because diagnosis was at 3. Yes.
About 6 years now.
Yes.
What are some of the myths that you've faced?
I think one of the biggest myths is that autism is a disease.
Is it?
It's not a disease. It's just a neurological disorder on the brain. So you see, a disease is something you take a tablet for and then it's over. But with autism, it's something that is of the way the brain is wired. So what you do not take a tablet to take it away. You find a way to live with it and to have your life in line with whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to read, if you want to study, but it's something you live with. So it's not something you take a tablet for and then it's over.
I hear you.
And then I think the other myth is, I think, which is very common, it's concerning and it's going around and it's very sensitive. Oh, it's because of vaccines, it's because of this, it's genetic. All those, there is a truth in terms of genetics, but it cannot be cast on stone, because scientifically it has not really been stamped that it's genetic. But most of the times, which is a big challenge within families, when a diagnosis is done, the quickest thing to begin to go is go, who is in your, look at down your family line. Is this thing there? Sometimes you find that it's not even there in the family line. So that is another myth that needs to be demystified, because surely the cause may not be very, very clear. That is something that even Elizabeth maybe will highlight on. The cause is not very, very clear, but sometimes we tend to hold on to one so that we want to believe it's because of your genes, it's because of where you were born. I think that was it. Then the other one that that is common is the issue of family issues. Oh, it's because of your mother said this. It's because when you got married, this happened. It's because the ancestors, you are not supposed to do this. Yeah, those stories of family issues have really made people go around in circles. Or go take this to that grandmother. Go take. It's a lie. That's another myth that has really been common. And of course, when we come to the church. The biggest amount is that it's a demon. It's you demon possessed. That one I fight with every tooth and nail about it, because why would God give a woman a child and then allow the enemy to possess the child? And I think that has also been one of the most frustrating things for believers that have not been able to internalize and accept a diagnosis. And so you move from one place of prayer to another. Please do not misquote me. I believe in miracles. I myself am a pastor. I pray for people's healing. But also there are places in John 9, I remember Jesus and the disciples asking concerning the blind man and said, So whose fault was it? Was it the parents? Is it the man? And Jesus answered simply, said, it's for the glory of God. There are some that will be totally transformed and healed to the glory of God, but there are some that will walk in that kind of capacity also to the glory of God. Psalm 139:14 is my core scripture, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
For sure.
And that our soul knows well. So for me, for autistic people, I say you are fearfully and wonderfully made. We fear you guys because we don't understand a thing about you. You're so wonderful because you'll do the most extraordinary things. So that is another myth that has actually caused many believers. If you find some of our greatest intercessors, coincidentally, some of our greatest intercessors, you find them, they are struggling with children with ASD. And because that myth has gone on and on and on, and the church has not come to the space of embracing these caregivers, it becomes such a challenge. Because what happens is that when these children come to church, they will manifest. And actually it's not manifesting. It's just overload on their sensories. Because maybe the child will come, they will run straight to the pastor's seat, they will run straight up to the stage. And we interpret that the devil is using them to disrupt the service. We do not disrupt service. In fact, if there are people that love God, are ASD people, and they love worship and they love music. So because of that myth, you find that people have shied away from church, and you find there are people that they would rather lock their child home rather than take them to the church. So I think my biggest call as a pastor right now is calling out to the places of worship to be accepted, to accept us, accept those caregivers, and accept them with their child. Do not set rules for them that the child cannot come because they are running up and down. If you create a space, the child will know they are loved. Because especially children with autism are beings of routine. If you create a routine for that child in that church, they will not disturb you. In fact, they will know this is where I sit. Then after worship, this is what I do. After this is like my daughter. We have never missed church ever since, because I'm a pastor. Me, I didn't have an opportunity to miss church because she is like that. So in all those hula baloos, we'll still end up in church. We would have a
every Sunday.
Every single Sunday. Every single Sunday.
How was that in the beginning?
In the beginning, it was tough because we had just moved to this city. And so we would go to church where we fellowship at Trinity Chapel, and I would sit at the creche where mothers with babies sit. And then I would just tie her on my back because I know if I put her down, man, she would just go run up straight to the street. Then with time, one of the children's church teachers noticed that I always come and have her on my back. And then she said, why don't you just bring her to children's church? Then I'm like, you have no idea. So she insisted. So I untied the baby and I gave them the baby. And of course, they went with her. She threw tantrums. They were like, wait, she's crying. I said, yeah, that's why I tie her on my back. But with time, they got used. And kind of, she also got used to the environment. So right now, she can walk around our church compound with her eyes closed. She knows the routine of the service. She will not disturb. She will sit through the service and she will enjoy the music. And when music is done, she will leave and go to the children's church. As long as she's within the gate, she doesn't have a problem. But if she was not accepted, she would not have created a routine. Now that is where the challenge is. Because we have not accepted them in our place of worship, they are always on flight mode. Because they know, if I do this, the usher will be on my case. If I do this, and they will wait. Sometimes you'll see them going up the stage and then they will check. Who is coming for me? But if you ignore and you don't come for them, imagine they'll just go and then go and sit. But because they are used to, it's a behavior now. We create that behavior, and because they continue getting response, they'll continue with that behavior.
I hear you. And you know why this topic is very close to my heart? I have a cousin who's autistic, and he is absolutely amazing. And as you're explaining, now I get to understand. You know, also this is why it's very important that even as the community, we get to understand how to relate even better with autistic kids. And as you said, it's that they're very normal. It's just that we need to understand that their mind is, it's routine. There's a way they do things. Because for my little cousin, at a dance kwa kanisa, he does all that, but ukichange routine kidogo, you might notice some change. But they're absolutely amazing. And we need to understand that very well. Now, I said time is really running, but maybe we'd get the myth busters, because we just talked about the myths, so that we'd you know, demystify some of the myths and be able to understand that this is true, this is not true. All right? So let's get the myth busters. We go through them as we get to wind up on our first set. Na leo imeenda haraka sana surely. So, our first myth is that all people with autism have intellectual disabilities. Is that true?
Not really. Some may have, some are very well intellectually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the second one is that individuals with autism can't live independent lives. What is independent lives to start with?
Independent life means they will always be dependent on someone.
Yeah.
And it's
aren't we all dependent on people?
We are all dependent on someone.
Yeah.
And actually, with we have autistic people that are able to live dependently. Okay, all of us are dependent actually.
Yeah.
So when you talk of independence, it's because we are trying to put a bar too high for them. Like now you feel they can live on their own. Even you yourself cannot live on your own.
For sure.
Yeah, so they can actually, what I can feel in there is that with a lot of, what do you call it? As they grow up, as you train them and you offer therapy, you offer routine, and they have a way of doing things. We have autistic people doing great things, being able to work just like you and I, being able to hold jobs 8 to 5, and being even able to rear families. It's possible.
Yeah. Okay. Kwanza that part, I don't know. Does it get better as you grow?
I think it does, because you see, as time goes and as you see the same way we mature from age 4 or 5 like that, a teenager is not the same as a 4-year-old. So even with them and their condition, you see when as they are growing, they've also learned the tactics of expressing themselves, the tactics of dealing with what overloads them, the tactics of communicating. So I would say it gets better, because as they are more aware of themselves, they are aware of what needs to happen. As they continue to be guided, they are able now to, should I say, adjust their own lives to what fits them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear you. Let's get to that myth, Pastor, which is autism is caused by bad parenting.
This one has been a challenge forever, where we are judged as caregivers and parents of bad parenting when it comes to autism. It's a myth and it's a lie. What most of the people may call bad behavior, for example, it's maybe in a crowded place, you expect all children to sit still. An autistic person may not be able to sit still. They will either fidget, they will walk in and out of a room, just trying to acclimatize themselves. Then the other thing that makes us maybe be judged as bad parenting is because of what we call meltdowns and tantrums. Meltdowns are when their brains get overloaded with sensory issue. For example, as I gave an example of light, of sound, of smell. Let me give an example. For example, I would go with my daughter to the supermarket many a times before I knew that her sense of smell is quite high. Like what we smell this close, her she'll smell it when it's miles away. So I did not know that the many different scents in the supermarket affect her. I did not understand. Okay, actually had no idea. So every time we would go to the supermarket, number one, the smell, and also the fact that you see the way the supermarket you walk in rows, it looks it's an enclosed places. So she had a big challenge with the enclosed places, which I had not discovered. So anytime we would get to a supermarket, we will walk in. Then when we were on the first lane, then she'll just begin to fidget a bit. By the time we move in a bit, and if by mistake she misses and loses my hand, she will run in the supermarket, and she will run with such a high speed that I can not get a hold of her. So in the process, it will become very chaotic as we are trying to run after her, and maybe I'm trying to shout, stop, stop, stop. And of course, people are like, no, mzazi ni nini? Unakimbizwa huku na katoto ka 4 years. What kind of manners is this?
People don't get it.
Don't get it. That's one of the things that makes us be judged as bad parents. The other thing is that they will just throw tantrums in terms of there is a way they are trying to communicate, we are not understanding them. When that anger comes, they will just maybe begin to roll and cry, and you're trying to calm them down. It's not possible. So of course everybody is looking at you there and like, si chape mtoto kiboko moja ainuke, and they're not understanding it's something that maybe it needs time for them to just go through the whole process. And also sometimes you could be giving an instruction and then you might have to say it twice or thrice. And then somebody would be like, why would you tell her that twice? It should be once and she goes. But sometimes they will not hear me the first. Okay, not that they will not hear me. Their brain may not be there, what I'm telling them. So I have to like
Yeah.
Pick the cup. Then they're looking and they're like, I'm saying, pick the cup. Then they will pick the cup and go.
Okay.
And somebody might tend to think it's rudeness. So there, that's where the myth of bad parenting comes.
Okay.
It's because of the way they either react to instructions, how they respond.
Yeah.
And even when now challenges come around, meltdown and tantrums, it becomes very hard to calm them down.
Okay.
So somebody may wonder, why is your child controlling you? Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm getting from this is that also it's a learning process for the caregivers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Every day. They teach us daily, where they teach you
Yeah.
patience and love, and they shock you also with the things they can do.
Amazing. So we need to be a bit more patient with
yes.
the caregivers.
Yes, yes.
At Faraja, do you have, and we need to talk about the therapy,
Yes.
because we'll be talking about the therapy that the kid goes through
Yes.
with Elizabeth.
Yes.
But from your experience, what's the kind of therapy you had to go through to just make you understand that we can do this? It's very normal, people do it, and they're amazing kids. He'll grow up to be an amazing baby. How did you go through the therapy?
Mine, I think I would say in two ways. One of the things I had to personally enroll in counseling, like a student, like just learn, because I needed to psychologically just put myself together. I went back to school to take counseling, because one of the things you do when you're taking counseling, you have to go through sessions. You had to go through therapy.
Okay.
So
oh, really?
Yes, if
That's
you're taking a
interesting.
counseling course,
Okay.
part of the course is sessions. You have to sit with a therapist.
Okay.
That happened and worked for me. Then I think the other thing that worked for me as well to help me like come up into terms with this is, I would say my grip on God, my faith life, and my believing in the Word of God,
Yeah.
like played like 80% of my response to now the journey with my daughter.
Yeah.
Because I moved from that place of impossibilities to the place of like, what is it that God you want us to do? How do you want me to raise this girl?
Yeah.
And then out of that, as I'm believing in God and I'm going through counseling, as I begin to accept that this girl is unique in her own way, I also had to now, as a caregiver, had to accept that I'm her caregiver and I'm her only advocate.
Yeah.
And now I had to build capacity to deal with society.
Okay.
Like, this is our life.
Yeah.
Guys, I am not apologizing. This is us.
Yeah.
We can only handle this much.
Yeah.
If you are not able to handle us, please just allow us
Yeah.
to be. So
Yeah.
coming to that space of realizing,
Yeah.
if I do not advocate for this girl, nobody will advocate for her.
Yeah.
If I do not speak for her, nobody will speak for her.
Yeah.
And the healing process also continues as you begin to join psychosocial support groups. We are many caregivers. So sometimes we'll just sit down and have coffee, and then we are laughing at the things that our children have done that week. Then we cry because of the milestones. We are thinking, man, they're not yet there. How will we ever get them there? You get to meet other women, and you, as you are getting encouraged, you're looking at your situation, you're thinking, me, I'm better off.
Yeah.
Manze, I can't cry. This mother cannot see me crying because anajua mtoto wangu na mimi naona mtoto wake. So I have to put myself together. So we support that psychosocial support system has really worked. I think those are the three things that have kept me going. And one of the most strongest pillars that I've had, which I thank God for, is my husband. And my daughter, my immediate family, my husband and my daughter have been the biggest cheerleaders, and they support and they help. Like, the baby is not mine. There is nothing that I will stop at his sitaenda because of the baby. No. Everyone is there to support. My husband is he's the secondary caregiver, and my daughter says she's the co-caregiver because we all do this together. If mommy and daddy is not there, then my daughter is there. If I'm not there, daddy is there. So he's been very supportive throughout the journey, like in terms of medication. By the terms, because my daughter is on full-time medication because of conversions, he's the one who does the medication. I do the rest. I do everything else. But for medication, me hata sijui ni which tablet at what time. So that support at home has really helped me to be able now to move, build capacity, and now come up with Faraja Initiative and be now a source of strength for other people.
Absolutely love the fact that you now had to come up with Faraja Initiative, which has been able to be a home of every other person who's going through the same. You know, you've been speaking and I've been thinking about, and not to digress, but so yesterday you were talking about Evelyn Wanjiru. So
Yes,
you just realized that she's written a book
yes,
about the waiting, the women who are the waiting wombs. Yes. And we realized that sometimes God will take you through a season because how would you be serving in church on altars for 10 years asking God for the same thing? I'm like, when God is nini? But then you realize that, as you said, sometimes God will allow you to go through something for the sake of other people.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that we have Faraja that helps us understand more about what autism looks like and the fact that kids who are autistic, the normal kids, and they are absolutely amazing kids.
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
Time is really moving. But it would be very wrong for us to go without talking about what are the challenges that you faced as Faraja Initiative, now as an organization, trying to sensitize this topic, autism, to the larger community and to bring in parents that have autistic kids, because as you started by saying is that if you have an autistic kid, you'll tend to watch a sisi to kai home and not open up to other people. Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you've gone through with that?
I think one of, okay, let me start with one of the biggest challenges that we face is maybe when we go and float, and I'll go back to churches.
Yeah.
When you go back and float the thought to the churches, like, could we come and sensitize? Many, sorry to say, servants of God are not ready for this to be spoken about on their pulpits. They're not ready.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know whether they feel like you're diluting the faith of their believers. It's like, they are not ready to accept that it's okay not to lay hands on this autistic person, and they still rise from that place of slaying autistic. Okay. I have faced that a lot, whereas even when you try to bring it out, you'll find that somebody is trying to take you back to the God of miracles. And I'm like, I am not saying that God will not work out miracles.
He will.
But as we wait for the miracles, can we then make the place acceptable for the person so that as they continue to come and healing will come? I know healing will come because healing is a process. Even these children, they gather milestones every single day. We appreciate the win. When my child is able to pick the cup and put in their mouth, for me that's a healing because we have taken 6 months of therapy for that cup to come from the table to the mouth. So that's a miracle. But now before the next miracle happens, she needs a church to be in. She needs a Sunday school teacher who will understand her. So one of the biggest challenges is that the church saying, okay, you guys come and speak to our people and also let us understand them. Then the other challenge is when diagnosis is done, as you've said, by the time a mother or a father comes to the place of accepting that this is it. Sometimes it takes parents so long, and then it pains us because we are trying to wish if you get on board faster, we will do more. We will help the child more. So we have to keep on going back. We believe we are walking the journey, then you take us back to say, but you see, by now she should be doing this. Then we are like, okay, mama, remember what the diagnosis was? So that back and forth of a parent accepting, then sometimes they wake up, they're in denial the following morning. You're trying to work, you're giving instruction, maybe as the center, you're saying at home, please make sure that this child's this and this is happening. But now unafanya, sisi, we went back to then you're like, oh my God. So that the back and forth sometimes becomes a challenge. And then the other biggest challenge is where families have, this has broken my heart many times, where families have had to separate because of the diagnosis. I think for me that is usually one of the most painful ones because it becomes very hard for the one that is left. And when somebody is not understanding and they have to leave because of the diagnosis, that one is very fresh for me, and it becomes a big struggle for the person. So yeah, I think that's the biggest for me.
Okay. I hear you. This has been such a, I don't know, this has been such a wholesome, in-depth conversation. And I hope, because we say that today we're talking about autism, but we've been talking about autism from a whole different perspective. Because we'd love for you to understand that being autistic, you're different, but you're normal. You're just a different kind of normal, if that makes sense. And it's very important for you to receive the people who are autistic as normal kids and be able to open up everything for them. And as you said when you started, is that we usually see it from their perspective. And you never sit to think that this might happen to you as well.
Yes.
And we'll be talking, because we'd want to clear the air on that.
Yes.
We're having Elizabeth in the next, should be like 10 minutes. And we'll be talking about what are the causes of autism. Because that now brings us to, why do you feel like you are the victim when you realize that, oh, your baby is autistic, or your neighbor's baby is autistic, and you feel like, no, now we can't relate anymore. Why are you now being the victim? Because what's the cause of all these? We'll be talking about all that. But thank you so much, Judy, for one, being able to, and allowing God to use all these to be comfort, to be faraja,
Yes.
to everyone else.
Yes.
But also just being here on this show to share about your baby, your amazing, beautiful baby.
Thank you.
And allowing other people to know exactly what autism looks like. And I've absolutely loved that you've mentioned that it's a spectrum, and everyone is different. Everyone is absolutely different, and we'll be talking more about that. But just to end the discussion, the first part of the discussion,
yes,
is that what would be your parting shot? And I'd want this parting shot to go to the parents who've just received the confirmation of the news that their babies are autistic.
I say to you, maybe you received the diagnosis yesterday, a month ago, three months ago. You're still looking at the doctor's report, and you're asking yourself, what next? I say there is hope.
Yeah.
What next is just pick up the phone, find out if the doctor said the child needs speech therapy or occupational therapy, or they need to be seen by a therapist. Just take the step and find out where to find that therapist. What I will say to you is, do not sit and wait for too long, because early intervention makes a whole difference. And then do not wait for everybody around you to be on board. No, you just need you to be on board and your child to be on board. And then you begin the journey. And the beauty is there is a lot of hope. There is a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And nothing has changed about that child. Let me tell you, if you never went to the doctor, and if the doctor never told you about ASD, you'll still have walked and raised that child without knowing there's something wrong with them, or there's something that the brain is responding to differently. So let that notepaper change anything about the dreams you have about your child. Just keep walking. It's only that the journey might take longer and more steps than it would have taken, but you'll still get there. And let me also say this. April is the Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, but this is what I'm saying. Acceptance is a daily thing, it's not an April thing. After we learn about everything we've learned about in April, let's live every year and every single day looking out if there's somebody out there who needs our support, who is on the spectrum. And we are moving now to acceptance, meaning it is us to adjust our lives to fitting people that are living with autism.
Amazing. On Sunday, it would be very wrong for us to end without mentioning this. You have something happening on Saturday, Saturday morning at Trinity Chapel?
Oh, sorry, it already happened.
Oh, it did?
It did.
On Saturday?
On Saturday, on 5th.
Oh, really?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah, it is well.
Okay.
It did, but look out for it. We had our Autism Awareness Month, event on 5th. But there's something else that will be coming up for the caregivers. We are looking forward to putting together a caregivers retreat, a one-day retreat for mothers and fathers raising autistic children. So look out in our social media pages. We'll give you the alert. So that now we come to, on Saturday we had something for the children, but now we are planning something for the caregivers in a bigger way, so that we come and spend a whole day together. We cry, we laugh, and then we support one another. So we'll put it out there once it's ready.
All right.
Yes.
Your social media pages?
We are on Faraja Initiative Organization. And then on Judy Kagure Gaga. That's my personal page.
Amazing.
Yes.
Do you have a number that people would call if they'd want help?
Yeah, you can reach us on 0710 766 and 836. We have another office line that I've not yet put in my head, but it's on our social media page.
All right.
Yeah, that's
maybe you just retake the one that you've
Yeah,
Told us
0710 766 836.
All right.
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you so much once again, Judy, for being on this conversation. That has been so wholesome and very educative.
Thank you.
And I believe to everyone who's watched today, you know, on this show,
Yes.
what we say is that as much as it's a health show,
Yes.
It's usually not in vain that you're here. Yeah.
Yes.
So we say every morning, every Wednesday morning, that God never gathers his people in vain.
Oh, yes, that's it.
So you've listened to this. Who knows why? Maybe you'll have a friend who needs to hear these. Maybe you're gonna encounter someone who has a baby who's autistic, and you might need to help, or you'll just meet someone who has a baby who looks like they are autistic, they've just not realized yet, and you have this information and you're going to help and, you know, lead them to the right people. So make sure that you share this link as much as you can. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Asante sana.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Now we're taking a very short break. After that, we'll be coming back with Elizabeth, who is an occupational therapist. So we'll be getting to talk about everything else that you need to understand about autism. Kwa hivyo usiende mbali, that has been just the first part. It's even getting more educative. Kwa hivyo usiende mbali, just a short break, and then we'll be coming right back.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Mwaka yenye iko na 11114 itakuwa mwaka wa
11101.
Oh my God! Nataka nikamilishe methali. Mgala muue.
Mgala mchanga.
Ati mgala muue?
Akiwa mchanga.
Vidubwasha. Nitungie sentensi kutumia neno vidubwasha.
Kidudu kile kikadumrishika kikadufu.
Burudia.
Kidudu kile kikadurisha kikadufu.
AI in full inasimamia nini?
ICU.
ICU.
Nestled just 11 kilometers from Nakuru town along the Njoro Road, Bridgewater Primary and Junior Schools offers a unique learning experience in a peaceful and conducive environment. Our dedicated staff ensures that every child receives the attention they deserve with a small student-to-teacher ratio that enhances individualized learning. With state-of-the-art science and computer laboratories, your child will have access to modern learning resources that prepare them for a bright future. We provide ample space for recreation and rest with a large playground for physical activities and clean, spacious dormitories with 24-hour resident matrons ensuring your child's safety and well-being. Every learner is provided with enough textbooks in all learning areas, ensuring they all have what they need to succeed academically. Transport is available, making it easy for both day and boarding students to access the school. Your child's safety is our priority, with a secure environment to ensure peace of mind for every parent. Bridgewater Primary and Junior Schools is committed to maintaining a clean environment and providing a reliable water supply sourced directly from our own borehole. At Bridgewater, we offer affordable school fees without compromising the quality of education. Join us today and give your child a brighter future. For more details, contact 0727 070 076 or 0752 730 715. Bridgewater Primary and Junior Schools, where your child's journey to success begins.
Are you ready for the most uplifting inspirational songs? Join us every Friday from 7:35 to 10 a.m. as we host incredible music ministers. For inspirational conversations,
it's a lot of organization that goes behind the scenes, a lot of division of labor,
and unforgettable tips.
One of those careers you grow in the job. As you get more experience, you get better.
From 7:35 to 10 a.m.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Perfecto, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying. We do value your time greatly, as we always say. So, we are back, and just to remind you that we've been talking about autism, and today we've had such a wholesome conversation. It's quite a lot, but it's everything you need to understand. Now, tumerudi, because we need you to understand more about autism so that you'd be at a place where you do not judge, but you're able to handle it very well, and you know what to do when what is needed, you know. And with me on set, I have Elizabeth, who is an occupational therapist, and many more that you'll be telling us about.
Sure.
Karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so amazing that we have people that God has placed in their hearts the burden to work with our this very special, amazing, beautiful group of kids. And thank you so much for being one of those people.
It's an honor to be here, honestly. Thank you.
Please say hi to the audience and
Hello.
introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Kahumbi. I'm an occupational therapist, a pediatric occupational therapist. So that means I deal with children, and I focus a lot on early intervention, just to help them to be independent in the activities that are important to them. So it's an honor to be here.
Amazing.
Yes.
How has that been?
It is very rewarding, I'll say, because Miss Judy has said before, like when you see those small milestones get achieved, like lifting that cup, it's such a rewarding journey. That you get to work with families and children. So I don't think I would be doing anything else. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Right?
Yes.
Why did you decide to venture in these? It's like now we're talking about entrepreneurship and stuff. But this is a calling, really.
Yeah. A lot of people have said it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not.
It takes a lot of patience, understanding, acceptance. I ventured into it. Initially, I wanted to do something something in the medical field, but I knew I didn't want to sit behind an office or sit behind a desk all day long. I knew I wanted to work with people. And a friend of my mom, I didn't qualify for what I wanted to do. I needed to do physics. Ikakata. I didn't even take it. So anyway, she told me about this occupational therapy and how I could, get into it. And I had, it sounded like something that I wanted to do, working with people, helping people. So that's how I got into it. And I do not regret it one bit. Yes.
Amazing.
That's how I'm here.
All right.
Yes.
Now, today we're talking about autism, and this has been such a discussion around the community, the people, and people just talk from what they know best, not from the professional standpoint. And now that's what we want to talk about today. We've talked with Miss Judy.
Many hats.
Yeah, many hats. Talking with Pastor Judy, advocate, IT.
Yes.
Tumia title gani, please.
Counselor.
Counselor, zote. And we've talked about what autism is. And she's mentioned that it's on a spectrum.
True.
Please explain more about it.
All right. So autism is just short for autism spectrum disorders. So when we say spectrum, it's like a whole range of, how people present. And it is a neurological disorder. It is not a disease that needs curing. And one person is different from the other, and there are different levels to it. According to the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it is classified into 3 levels. So there is level 1, which is they call it mild autism. So you'll find that maybe someone in the first level has socially awkward behavior,
the antisocial
quirky
kind of people?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe like to keep themselves, but they're maybe verbal. They can communicate verbally.
Okay.
Then the second level is you'd say it's the moderate level 2.
All right.
So you'll find that they have some limited communication. Maybe they have some mannerisms that are a bit peculiar from what we know, the typical human behavior. Then there's the third level, which is severe autism. So you find that most of them will probably be nonverbal. Some of them may be a bit aggressive. They keep to themselves. So they depending on the level of autism. So usually those are the 3 levels that have been categorized.
All right.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some of the symptoms in terms of how they present socially.
Yes.
What are some of the most very initial symptoms that you'd use to know this person could be autistic?
All right. So some of the things a person would look out for, a parent could look out for, is a lack of, loss of speech. You'll find probably a parent will say, my child used to talk, they used to say mama, baba. Then at some point, maybe at around 2 years old, ikapotea. They no longer communicate verbally. You'll find another person saying that they just like playing by themselves. When you interfere, when they like to, solo play. They don't like to interact with other kids, so they don't socially interact with other children. You'll also find some of them with some repetitive behaviors. Some of them will flap their hands. Some of them will be drawn towards playing with specific things, like some of them maybe wanataka kukatu na katwig kamuti. Someone else will want to keep maybe touching a fabric. So there are these some mannerism or repetitive behaviors you'll find.
Why is that?
So it's a way that it's like a self-regulating thing, like how you and me sometimes when you sit, maybe you go to a meeting that's long, we'll find ways to fidget. Some of us will play with their pen, we'll start playing with our hair. So it's just that there's a way we can downplay it. It's not so obvious to others for them, but for people on the spectrum, it's a bit more obvious and it's a bit unique or different from what, that's not kawaida. So those are some of the things you look out for. And they also have maybe sensory challenges in terms of, like, some of them will be sensitive to touch. You'll find parents saying they don't tolerate nail cutting, hair cutting, or they can't stand loud noises, and like even some of us, maybe you'll find it's overwhelming for you, but you can manage it.
Yeah, you can stand it.
But for them, it's overwhelming that they don't know how to cope or, still do what they need to do in the presence of this stimuli. So those are some of the things you look out for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we talk about what are the causes for, and we've even seen from the Mythbusters, some of the people feel like, it's what you ate while you were carrying this baby. It's what you did. And, sometimes we have so many questions on that. So now let's make it very clear on this conversation. What are the causes of autism?
Okay. Now, there's a lot of research that's been done. It's being done over years. And there is no known cause. There is no cause that researchers have found that this is the cause of autism.
Okay.
When you expose yourself to this, then your child will have autism. But what there is that there are risk factors.
Okay.
Risk factors such as genetics. You'll find that maybe the age of the parents, especially maybe the dads, like the older the parent, the more susceptible a child may be. But it's not like you'll find even older men will having neurotypical children. That's why there's no known set cure. It's just risk factors and also environmental factors, maybe infections during pregnancy or toxins in the environment. So those are some of the risk factors that have been put out there by researchers, but there's no known cause. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So we take this as a hypothetical example. Yeah.
Yes.
Hoping that all of us, and we pray that all of us, God will help us to have, very. But we say they're all normal, so I'm really trying to get the right name, so I won't. But use this as a hypothetical example. You get a baby that, and you realize at some point they're diagnosed with autism.
Yes.
As a parent, as a caregiver, what should be your very first step?
Okay. The very first step, if I got an official diagnosis, or maybe even I suspect I haven't even gotten an official diagnosis, would be to, the doctors usually will guide you to where to go. Probably most of them will refer people to occupational therapy. So I would not sit at home, or maybe because you've had stories of he'll grow, even some, sadly to say that there are doctors who will say he'll grow out of it, or you have nothing to worry about. But I would say if you feel like there's that as a parent you'll get that gut feeling, maybe I need to have someone look at my baby. So don't hold back, don't be shy, don't fear. There is support out there. So get started, and that's why what would I do as a parent? Early intervention. Because while I'm in this space of worrying, what do I do? There's that fear of what do I do next, or where do I even go? The child is still growing by the day. They're not waiting for you to actually make a decision. The child is still growing. So I would say the doctor, or where you got that diagnosis, or if you haven't gotten a diagnosis, visit a pediatric, a developmental pediatric doctor, or a pediatric neurologist. Then they would be able to guide you on the next step. So don't sit back, do something about it while the child is still young.
All right. Let's talk about therapy.
Yes.
For the kids. And I know I have said this, but I'll just say it again.
Yes.
That I've seen a baby who's autistic. And right now, while we were on the break, I was giving Judy an example that the baby, I absolutely love him. He'd come to work and tutakane the whole day. Very manageable, amazing little boy. So while we talk about therapy, is that it does help, because I have seen that it helps. But what's the process like from the time it's diagnosed to now having this baby doing everything by themselves?
Okay, it is, I'd say it's a journey. It's not a short journey, and like we said, autism is a spectrum. Every child is different. The severity is different from one person to the other. So I'd say when they come in, you come in with a child, usually we do assessments. We will do, there's some sensory assessments we'll do just to identify. Remember I said that some of them have sensory challenges, sensitivities. We want to find out if a child has any sensory challenges. We also want to have a baseline of where the child is at in terms of, some of the challenges they have is they also have some delays with their fine motor skills. They also have some delays with their social skills, their communication, their ability to regulate themselves emotionally, especially in light of the sensory stimuli they face every day. So the assessment when they come to the clinic would be, we have a baseline of this is where your baby is at, or this is, so we pick up from there, this is where we are at in terms of communication, this is where, these are the challenges we have sensory wise, this is where we are at in terms of paying attention. This is how we cope with frustrations and sensory issues. So then from there, we are able to create a tailored program or intervention program that will match or will suit this particular individual. And then we also, because it's a journey that we don't walk by ourselves as interventionists, we work with the family. What are the priorities of the parents? In terms of like, I would want my child to be able to hold a cup. I'd want my child to be able to sit down and be able to cope with some of these sensory stressors in her daily environment. So these are my priorities. It's a journey that we walk together. So we formulate goals based on the parental priorities, based on the observations we have made as clinicians, and then we do goals, and now we start intervention from there. Yeah, and intervention is a whole story. Yes.
Let's talk about that kidogo. We'll be getting to hear from the people about what they know about autism. We have some recordings, the vox pops. We'll be getting them in a very short while, but let's maybe briefly talk about the interventions. What are the different kinds of interventions?
All right, so the different kinds of interventions, like this these are an intervention called sensory integration. This is where, like I said, if they have challenges with sensory processing or being able to cope with sensory stimuli in the environment, we give them activities, or we tailor, we give them targeted activities, sensory based, because we are sensory beings. So we tactile. I'm sensitive to touch, so we will introduce activities that are tactile based to help this child be able to tolerate these textures that they can't stand. And it is graded. We don't bad like you're sensitive. Shika, depend, or so we grade it based on their tolerance level, and then we keep, as they accept, we keep increasing that. So that's just one example of tactile sensitivity, and that cuts, that will apply to other sensory areas. So that's one of the intervention approaches. The other one, like we said, we have some delays generally with self-care skills. You'll find that maybe we are delayed with maybe dressing, feeding, toileting. So we get the child at that baseline, and then there are different approaches, like details of how we can support parents to get to toilet train their child, get to a child accepting to maybe use cutlery or even accepting different textures of food. Then we also work on social skills. We usually build, I'll just insert this, like we also work with other therapists like speech therapists, but occupational therapy will build that foundation that leads to them learning how to communicate or to be able to accept and take now the speech therapy intervention. In terms of, like, for me to be able to communicate with you, I have to be calm, I have to pay attention to you, I have to be present in this space, I have to ignore the lights so that I'm able to be present in this moment. So the intervention will focus on a child being able to attend, being able to regulate their body, being able to use their hands functionally, so that even when now they do even other therapies or do these other things that are important to them, they already, the foundation is laid for that. So social interaction, and we do a lot of talking in the sessions, because as a child, we are talking about children, their main occupation is play, and occupational therapy is aimed at them being independent in these activities that are important to them. The occupation is play, the occupation is maybe going to school, the occupation is now doing these things like learning self-care skills. That's now their main job as a child as they are growing up. So we teach them those foundations to be able to be independent in these things. So some of the intervention approaches that that we use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear. And I love the fact that you are looking at every area of the baby, from how they play to how they speak to other people, from literally everything that they do. And that's really beautiful, and that makes them wholesome.
True.
Because now we see why the kids are now able to relate normally with people.
That's
and
true.
That's very important. Now let's take a look at some of the vox pops and hear what are your views on autism, because that will inform where we are at with creating awareness for autism and what we need to do better there. But let's hear from the vox pops.
Food, vitu kaa wheat, sugar, hizi masoda, mtu kikunywa sana, hata by the time unapata unashika mimba unataka kuzaa, ndio inaleta high risk ya wewe kupata mtoto ako autistic.
Okay, the first thing mimi naweza sema yenye nachangia ni kitu kama genetic, inheritance and variation. Pale inaweza kuwa kwa familia, inatoka kwa familia nyuma. And the second thing naweza ongelea ni uchafu as a factory, uchafu labda unapata kuna a lot of dump sites around there. Bado hiyo inaweza changia, inaweza kuwa cause.
Na bado usisahau bado aje kulala na mtu nini? Na kama kazini yako hivyo na nini unaona bado inaweza kuja hivyo, si ndio? Mimi nasema hiyo kwanza consent. Second thing ni kama tuseme aje na wazee mti yangu. So unaelewa?
Met with a younger person na mzee tena inaweza changia bado. Yeah.
Okay, kitu naweza sema mambo na genetics, kama tuseme genes kutoka kwa wazazi, upate kama kulikuwa na mtu alikuwa na autism tuseme kwa hiyo familia, so hiyo kitu inapata inajirudia. Ama upate umepata okay, msichana anapata mtoto na mtu wa miaka mingi kumuliko tuseme 8 years au ma sponsors hivyo, ndio unapata anazaa mtoto wako na brain delay, vitu kama hizo.
The two main things zenye I feel was na lead to autism in kids ni hereditary. Kuna certain things zenye zina run in the family that might cause your defect. And the other thing ni old age. Watoto wenye wanazaliwa to older people tend to have your issue when they have kids.
Let's first talk about wewe mwenye amesema taking sodas and meals, the meals that you take before you get pregnant or while you're pregnant. Tell us about that.
That was, it just helps me to know that there's a lot of awareness that needs to happen. And like we said, there's no known cause of autism. It's not about what you eat or what you drink. It could happen to anyone. Like we said, it can happen. It's now happening to very young families. Both, you know, families are both mom and dad are very young, but a child still gets it. So I guess probably there needs more research needs to go into that as to what really causes it. Yeah, that was interesting to hear.
Okay. Now, I know we still have healthy living, where we get to know how to live healthy, as much as we have people who are autistic. What can they do to continue living healthy? And on that note, we'd want to know, is there a specific diet for the autistic kids?
All right. So let me first start with the fact that autism is a spectrum. What works for one person may not work for another child.
Okay.
There has been research that gluten-free, casein-free diets usually help maybe improve communication, lower the energies in a child, because you'll find that a lot of them, or a good number of them, are very energetic. So diet, gluten-free, casein, I think it's one of those things where a parent will try. It might work for my child. And maybe there are also allergies to look at. If this works for my child, and you can tell there's a difference, and it happens over time. That if you introduce such diets, you'll find that this works for me, this doesn't work for me. We've had recently a story of a parent who was sharing that she tried all those diets. no change.
Zilikata.
But you'll find another parent saying, I tried this and there was
it's working.
Day and night difference for a child.
Yeah.
I'd say in terms of nutrition, in terms of diet, we can, because it doesn't hurt. And as long as the key point to remember is that your child needs a balanced diet.
Yeah.
You need all the nutrients intake, yeah? So if the diet is giving that, the nutrients to a child, like it's not, you know, there are no nutrients being, you know, the child is not deprived of any nutrients, and you find that probably it works for my child, or their energy levels are going down, or they're more attentive, they're more present, go for it. But there are also other healthy alternatives. Like for sure, sugar for anybody will get your energies skyrocketing. So of course, like I would recommend that we eat healthy, wholesome foods and make it balanced. Yeah. If maybe a nutritionist recommends we go that way, you know, for sure go for it. But then just see if it's benefiting the child in terms of what's the end goal. We want probably the energies to reduce, or we want the child to be more attentive. So every child is different. Every intervention approach is different. So yeah, that's what I'd say about nutrition, but focus on getting a child getting those nutrients. Yes.
Okay, I hear you. Now, as an occupational therapist, what do you do just to prepare these kids for their integration in schools, in society, because that's also a very important part in their lives?
Yes, it's very important, and especially now, parents, there's more awareness. We're not yet there.
Yeah.
Spaces, you know, there's more, like I'm impressed by those videos that have been shared. People, we didn't know about autism years ago, but now people are talking about genetics. So you can tell there's more awareness. So I'd prepare families by maybe getting the spaces more inclusive, getting a child, involving the parents, and we usually start small. Like there's a child, they needed to maybe go for walks, but they couldn't get, the child was not ready to go out. So there's that fear from the family that if I take my child out, what will people think about me? What if they get a meltdown? How will I deal with it? So I'd say starting small, starting with small things that you can handle. Even if it's a short walk outside the gate. Tuende tu pale tufike kwa mama nani, then turudi. Slowly building their capacity to be able to be integrated in school or in the outside spaces. That's for like social places. For schools, we work with schools. We train teachers, like Judy has said. We trained school settings so that they are more aware about our children on the spectrum, and they are able to learn how to have this child sit in a classroom of maybe 20 other kids and still go home having learned something, and still go home having taken something. So we do training for teachers. We prepare parents to, you know, at home, this is what you can do, so that what the child is learning in therapy, they're also learning at home. So there's a lot of collaboration between families and institutions and teachers.
All right. Now that brings us to how do, number one, you deal with stigma as a caregiver, and number two, how would the babies deal with stigma?
All right. So first of all, number one, I would say acceptance. Your child is not sick. Your child just views the world differently. And everyone has their own quirks, if I will use that word. If a caregiver accepts that this is where we are at, this is my child, this is what we have to deal with, and you're empowered to know that this child is like accepting, being gracious to the child, or being patient to the child. Because you are their advocate. A lot of them probably are not vocal or verbal, and they're oblivious to what everyone thinks of them, and I like that about them. Like Me, I'm just okay.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, more on the caregiver than on the child to have that accepting heart and to know that it is okay. My child may not be neurotypical, but they are fearfully and wonderfully made, just as they are. And I appreciate parents that I've met, like they're so bold, you know, like you cross me the wrong way, I will tell you about, you know, this, my child is, you know, be accepting, be patient. So I think I'd say acceptance on the part of the caregiver is one of the biggest steps you can make towards acceptance and facing the stigma from society. Yeah,
I hear you. Now, I think this is where we get the healthy living segment, just for you to get to understand what Sylvia is telling us today about healthy living in terms of on the topic autism, and then we'll be coming right back to continue. Just to remind you that our numbers are very open. That is 0721105105 on WhatsApp, 23814. Our SMS code, which is absolutely free. We're live on Facebook, on MBCI TV Facebook page. We're live on YouTube, on MBCI TV official YouTube page, and on all social media pages as Rachel Kahugo. You'll be able to get to us, and we will be getting your feedback and your comment. Hoping and praying that we'll be able to read and respond to all of them, because I see there are quite many, but I know that we've answered most of them on either the first part of the discussion or this part of the discussion already. But let's get the healthy living segment, and then we'll be coming right back.
Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. My name is Sylvia Wanjar. Today we're going to discuss about the myths and misconceptions about autism. Autism spectrum disorder, that is ASD, is often misunderstood, leading to myths that create stigma and misinformation. Here are some of the common misconceptions and the truth behind them. Number 1 myth: autism is caused by vaccines. There is no scientific evidence linking vaccines to autism. Multiple studies, including those done by CDC and WHO, confirm that vaccines do not cause autism. The false claim originated from the discredited study in the 1900s. Number 2 myth: people with autism lack emotions or empathy. Individuals with autism do feel emotions deeply but may express them differently. Some may struggle with social cues, but this does not mean they lack empathy or do not care about others. Myth number 3: autism only affects children. Autism is a lifelong condition. While symptoms may be more noticeable in childhood, autistic individuals continue to experience challenges and strengths throughout their lives. Autistic individuals continue to experience challenges and strengths throughout their lives. Number 4 myth: all autistic people have intellectual disabilities. Autism affects individuals differently. Some may have intellectual disabilities, while others may have average or above average intelligence. Many autistic individuals excel in specific areas like mathematics, music, or technology. Number 5 myth: autism can be cured. Autism is not a disease, therefore there is no cure. However, with early intervention, therapy, and support, autistic individuals can lead fulfilling and independent lives. Number 6 myth: people with autism cannot form relationships. Many autistic individuals form deep and meaningful relationships. They may communicate and socialize differently, but they can experience love, friendship, and connection. Myth number 7: autism is a mental illness. Autism is a neurodevelopment condition, not a mental illness. However, autistic individuals may experience mental health challenges like anxiety or depression due to social struggle or misunderstandings.
Right, we are back, and that's what we get to learn today from Healthy Living. Thank you so much, Sylvia Wanjar. We are talking about autism today. Yeah, and we are having Elizabeth, who's an occupational therapist. By the way, we should have started by what is an occupational therapist. Unajua tumeka hapa tunasema kila mtu anajua.
I know, not so many people know about it.
Yeah.
So you'll find people asking, like,
what do you do?
Occupation.
Yeah.
So basically, occupational therapy helps people to be independent or to learn how to do the things that are important to them.
Okay.
That's why the term occupation. Occupation si kwenda tu ofisi, kazi. Kuchana nywele ni kazi. It's part of what's important to you.
Yeah.
Going to that work itself, ni occupation, it's
Yeah.
important to you. So
Yeah.
you look at what's important to a person and help them or work with them so that they are independent in this. And for children, this will come as part of their developmental, you know, working towards them growing developmentally towards this independence. For grown-ups, for adults, you'll find that probably this will come as a result of an injury. Maybe they lost some skills. They're not, maybe as a result of a stroke, someone is not able to shower themselves. They were a driver. How do I get back into, you know, being an independent functioning member of society? How do I regain my you know, my income? So we teach them to be dependent in that way.
Okay, I hear you. And you know, this discussion has made me think, because every time we talk about autism, we talk about autistic kids. But as you've heard from the discussion we had with Judy before, is that you'd have a kid who's born normally, and then at some point you realize, oh, the kid is autistic. Does it always happen from the very beginning? It's just that we don't notice it early enough? Or you'd have someone who's very normal, and at some point in their lives, probably at their teenage years, they would start developing some autistic symptoms? Would that happen?
All right. Now, like we said, autism is a neurological disorder. And the brain starts developing in the uterus, right? So autism is not acquired later.
Okay.
Like I can today niko sawa, then tomorrow I have autism. No, that does not happen. So it happens from childhood. And I'd say probably it's the symptoms. You know, as a child grows, when they are a baby, some of these things like social interaction maybe is not there. It's not so obvious. But as they start interacting with the environment and starting interacting with people, then you start noticing. Si kama yule mwingine kuna kitu miss. So like you don't acquire autism later. Yes.
Now, we have people asking about cerebral palsy. And I know that's a whole other topic that we might need another sitting to talk about. But just tell us kidogo about it.
Okay. So cerebral palsy is also neurological, a developmental neurological condition that will either happen during birth, and it can also happen after birth. And this is where the brain is deprived of oxygen. You'll find that probably maybe during birth, a child asphyxiated, or after birth, maybe they had maybe meningitis or, you know, something that affected the brain, and the brain lacks oxygen. And you see cerebral palsy. Palsy is like another term of paralysis, So because the centers of the brain that control our movement, that control our motor functions is affected. So that's why you'll find children, it happens either during birth or after birth. So that's how cerebral palsy shows up. You'll find that maybe a child will have hemiplegia. This is where maybe one side of the body is affected. They are paralyzed. You'll find some of them, all limbs, both upper and lower limbs are maybe stiff, or maybe too floppy, if I would use the word, or too stiff. So, and it can also affect maybe the upper part or the lower part only. Some of them can be affected cognitive, maybe they may have cognitive challenges as a result. Some of them may have maybe it's just they're only physically challenged, but their cognitive functions are, you know, they are okay. Then so it depends. there are different forms of how cerebral palsy presents itself, depending on how much damage the brain got during or after birth.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see. So that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic. We
Yes.
might need to talk about that as well. But now talking about autism,
yes,
how can the community just create a more inclusive space for the people who are autistic?
I like that.
Yeah.
How can the community create more inclusive spaces?
Yeah.
It first starts with awareness that we have these people living with us in our communities, and they don't think like, they don't view the world like we do. They view it differently.
Yeah.
They're not sick, and they also have like this that from the health segment that just aired, like they also have feelings. They also need to be included in their daily, they also want to be part of the community.
Yeah.
They also want to play with like other children.
Yeah.
They don't want to be, you know, kutengwa, like, to be secluded or made to feel like, this is not for you. Let these ones play first. So first awareness, and also have spaces, like for example in churches, have areas where like they have like a room that these kids can be calm in. Have also teaching materials that are, because they are visual learners. A lot of them are visual learners.
Okay.
We learn through looking, we learn through sight. So how do we present our materials to these children? Are they included in the lesson? Maybe in Sunday school.
Okay.
Are they learning, or are they just sitting?
Okay.
In restaurants, maybe have an autism safe space. Like maybe families can go there. Maybe they are calming lights. It's not too noisy. They have like, you know, those clinics, you see, they have things kids can play with, a soft play area, so that these kids also are part of society. So awareness, and also being willing to modify our environment to include them.
That would be really nice.
That's a whole other topic of inclusion, and I'm really passionate about it, especially as part of, you know, the Faraja initiative. We want people to accept us and to have us included.
I hear you, and I feel like that's a very important part. And this goes to the hotels, to the churches, to the schools. Just create spaces that autistic people would feel more comfortable in.
Friendly.
That would really work well. Anyways, because of time, I know you have to wind up, but I see we have messages coming in. We might not be able to answer all of them, but I see we have touched on most of them. And I see we have a mom who's saying that they have an autistic kid, and they've really learned a lot from this discussion. You've asked for the numbers. You're going to give the numbers again. Maybe our director can have the numbers displayed on the screen so that you would call, if that would help. Anasema hi, anaitwa Anne from Christian Comfort Daycare. Yes, anasema Miss Judy is doing a really great job to the society. We're blessed to have her with us. May the Almighty God bless her abundantly. Asante sana. I see your messages that are coming in. God bless you. Yeah. So we'll not go through all of them because of time, but the numbers are there. So please do call, and I know that you'll get the help that you need. Now, I've asked the same question to Judy. I'd love to pose it to you as well as the parting shot. What would be your words to the parents who've just received the diagnosis of their kids and they've been told that, oh, your kid is autistic? What would be your word to them?
I would encourage them and tell them that your child, first of all, they are fearfully and wonderfully made. I think that's the slogan we go by every single day. That and it's not the end of the world. And your child will surprise you in so many ways. Just take them as they are, at the level they are at. and there is hope. There is support out there.
Yeah.
There is support out there, and they end up doing such amazing things. I'd just say, like some really famous people, very smart people, who have done so much in the world, are usually diagnosed autistic people. So there's your child is just starting out. There is hope. Accept them where they are, and they are fearfully and wonderfully made. And there is support. There is support out there.
I love it.
There is
support.
Yes.
It's not the end.
It is not the end of the world. There is hope. Yes.
Okay. And I love that you've also mentioned that you have people who are doing very well and they're autistic. So that tells you that autism isn't the end of the world. There are people who are living the autistic and they're doing very well.
Oh yes.
So please hold on, take care of that baby, love them with all your heart, and everything will be okay.
Indeed.
All right. As I'm a very educative message, you need more of this teaching. God bless you, Elizabeth. Asante sana. Anita Pauline Isia. Thank you so much for being with us on this second part of the show. It has been really amazing and you've learned so much. We'll definitely need more sittings as we talk about other topics like cerebral palsy, and just to know how to go about it, because we've also seen it's a question that people are asking, and it's also a topic that's out there, and people have their own analogies about these things. Yeah, so we'll need to talk about them more. But for today, thank you so much for being here.
And thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to educate people and to bring more awareness. Yes.
All right. So for the people who'd want to reach out for help and all that, where would they reach you?
I can share my number. That's okay. So that would be 0729 56 9986.
Take it again.
0729 56 9986.
Perfect.
I'm happy to help.
Amazing. Faraja Initiative, iko wapi?
Faraja Initiative, tuko section 58, right next to BM Security. So that's where our offices are. And that's where we also operate from, like intervention wise. And so you can find us there. We're happy to support in any way we can. So that families feel loved and included.
All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Once again, asante sana for being with us on this show.
Thank you so much.
We have learned so much.
I'm grateful.
And thank you so much for tuning in. We do say that it's not by chance that you're here. I hope that you've learned something, and I hope that this is something that you will run with, and it will remain to be of help to you and the people around you. That every time you encounter someone who's autistic, the first thought would be, we can do this, we can be friends, I can help where you can. It's not the thought that it's usually in the society that for autistic people they need to be by themselves mahali pale peke yao. No, we have to make sure that we include them as much as we can. Others, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I know for sure that you've been blessed. All right, so that has been it. We'll end it at that. But of course, before tumalize, lazima tukue na did you know, so that we'll get to, just jog our minds kidogo and see what we are getting today on did you. And today's is very interesting, by the way. And this will have you, checking more and researching more, which will be very important. All right, so let's get the did you know. Did you know that everyone has a unique smell, except identical twins? They smell the same. The part where we say that everyone has a unique smell, I think we all know about that. But what do you mean identical twins smell the same? Yeah.
That's a new one for me.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
That's very interesting. So go and research more. Go and research more on that. Others, thank you so much once again for tuning in for today's show. God bless you. God be with you. We're going to meet next week on this particular show. We're going to meet next week on Wednesday, same place, same time, for a different conversation. But if you have any question in regards to autism, we have the numbers that we've given to you, so you can always call and get help. If for one reason or another you're unable to get them, our WhatsApp number is very open. That is 0721105105, and we'll be able to connect you to them. Once again, thank you so much for your time. We do value your time greatly. Have an amazing rest of the day. God bless you. Enjoy. Make sure to tune in for the lunch hours from 12:30 to 2:30, and I know that you will be blessed. Bye-bye.